Welcome to the Ministry of the Real Truth, and just before I retire I decided to make this video because of my quest to find out where the New Zealand indigenous people came from, the Maori. As I've read a couple of books and based around Gerald Massey's Book of the Beginnings, Volume 2, stating that the Maori language is one of the closest, if not the closest, to the original Egyptian language, the hieroglyphs, the metuneta, and it indicates, or it drops a hint that they were there, the Maori were there in Egypt somewhere. Don't know if they were called Maori or whatever name they were called to way back then. So I came across this in my Google search, this book of this website stuff.co.nz, which claims there's a book written by some Europeans, etc., called I can't remember what it's called, but it said Egyptians, Greeks came to New Zealand first book. Okay, so we'll have a listen to this. Welcome. This is the Ministry of the Real Truth, and in my quest to find out where the New Zealand Maori, the indigenous people, originated from, because the book, A Book of Beginnings, Volume 2 by Gerald Massey, has information in it comparing the New Zealand Maori, the indigenous people of the land, its language, with the Egyptian. So that gives me the idea, or the realization, that the Maori people were actually there, okay, somewhere there. I don't know if they were called Maori in that era, if their language was closely related, or very, very close, so close to the Egyptian language, as Gerald Massey shows in his book. And another guy reviewing on A Book of the Beginnings says a similar thing. So I came across, in my Google search, Egyptians, Greeks came to New Zealand first book. Okay, it's a picture of a stone. Jesus Watch investigations into this unusual rock carving have uncovered that an ancient Greek celestial calendar had been carved into it. The rock carving dubbed Jesus Watch by those who found it was discovered on a Northland farm recently. It's about 2012. It's quite an old article that I came across. Captain James Cook and Abel Tasman could lose their place in history as the first Europeans to reach New Zealand. Controversial book, To the End of the Earth, claimed to contain evidence that Greeks, Spanish and Egyptians settled in New Zealand long before the Maori people. The 378-page book, to be released this weekend, that's in 2012, it's probably already out, so it's quite old, was co-authored by researchers Maxwell C. Hill, Gary Cook and Noel Hilliam. It shows ancient maps drawn before the birth of Christ, which the authors said detail the coastlines of Australia and New Zealand. Skeletons, rock carvings, stone buildings and monuments all attest to people of European origin living in New Zealand for centuries before the arrival of Polynesians, they said. The artefact include a rock carving of an ancient Greek ship found in Taupo, a stone pillar with an accurate coastal map of New Zealand showing Lake Taupo in its pre-232 AD eruption shape, and carvings on rocks at Raglan. Hill said a huge boulder weighing several tons, deeply cut into the huge circular star, calendar and marked with what were believed to be figures and rebuses was the most stunning find. Rebuses was the most stunning find. He said there were also evidence that showed Maui was not the legendary Maori god explorer, but an actual Egyptian naval navigator who steered a flotilla of Greek ships to discover new shores, Hill said. The book quotes Professor Barry Fell of Harvard University in the US, who interpreted graffiti drawn on limestone in caves at McClure Bay on the coast of Indonesia. Hill said Fell's find names Maui as a navigator from the Red Sea under the flag of Ptolemy III in 232 BC. A cave inscription near Santiago, Chile, also shows the Maori god explorer was an Egyptian navigator, saying the point was the southern limit of the coast reached by Maui, Hill said. However, AUT University Professor Paul Moon said the authors lacked credibility as none of the writers had any qualifications in history, archaeology, anthropology or related disciplines. Ptolemy's maps were not an indication at all that New Zealand was discovered by the Greeks or Egyptians, he said. This is no evidence at all that people came to New Zealand and at this time. On the contrary, Ptolemy's map shows a complete lack of geographical knowledge about the South Pacific, Moon said. British botanist and TV personality David Bellamy has defended the book, according to Hill. Max Hill has filled his steerage log with a collage of artefacts any museum would like to have in its keeping, Bellamy said. Yeah, he was really good botanist. Yeah, I really liked this program. Him and Magnus Pike, they were a good team. Yeah, they really got on their knees and really examined botanical plants and stuff. Like Magnus Pike was like, ooh, like really getting in there and detailing everything. He was on a game show, TV show once, and audience and ask him a question, and he'd go into great detail. He features on the old Thomas Dolby song video, She Blinded Me with Science. Yeah, I think Magnus Pike's probably passed it ages ago. Yeah, it's great. Loved this show as a kid. Okay, this story is now closed for comments. Right, at that point, at that time. Okay, so yeah, that's a claim. Okay, found on stuff.co.nz. Okay, that yeah, the Greeks were here first, all that sort of stuff. So Kiwis, what do you think? Okay, I know what Mario would say. Say, what a load of caca. Basically, that's what they'd say. I'm sure that's what they'd say. What a load of caca. Okay, so yeah, AUT University here in New Zealand, I guess. The Professor Paul Moon said the authors lacked credibility as none of the writers had any qualifications in history, archaeology, anthropology or related disciplines. Yeah, and Ptolemy's maps were not an indication at all that New Zealand was discovered by the Greeks or Egyptians, he said. So can we have a look at Ptolemy's maps? Is there any way of doing that? Okay, so what I did was, because the images were so small, is I downloaded it and put it on my desktop. That just moved me up there. Whee! Okay, so where are we on this so-called map? I guess this is India, Europe and India. There you go, Asia, India. So where would we be in this scheme of things? Probably down here somewhere. Maybe here. Okay. Couldn't really see the names or anything like that, but I'm guessing that looks like Australia, that looks like New Zealand. So yeah, I'd say we were supposedly there. I can't really see what they called us. I did have a look before. the magnifying glass. Okay, and it was a really weird name. Yeah, can't really see it on this map. But if this is like supposedly the original map of Ptolemy 5 or 6 or whoever, yeah, I don't know. It's amazing how he's like charted the whole world. You know, somebody charted it. If this is from his era, okay, could be a total fake. So far, I haven't really found that it actually is. It's been debunked or it's been proven as a fake. But yeah, it looks pretty interesting. Ptolemy's day, they must have spoke Latin because he's got N prefixes on the end of Asia, Aria, you know. So yeah, kind of doubtful there, right? Yeah, N prefixes were a Greek or Latin borrowed or loaned word, okay, put on the end to indicate that those of that region belong to that region, they spoke that language, they owned that language, they owned that territory, all this sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't know about this. Yeah, that the Greeks managed to create a big naval fleet of ships, you know, and sailed all the way down and found New Zealand and settled there. And then the Egyptians. Yeah, sounds a bit far-fetched. People make these claims and yeah, say, oh yeah, here's the evidence. Like the New Zealand guy Paul Moon said from AUT, Auckland University of Technology or whatever. Those guys had no qualification, no experience. Yet David Bellamy backed up the guy Hill, I think his name was. About his book or something. Yeah, so make what you will of it. Kiwis, yeah, like I said in the video, Maori now probably say, oh, what a load of caca. You know, total caca. Kiwis will be able to relate to that saying. Yeah, so make what you will of it. It's basically for the New Zealanders to make them aware this kind of stuff is out there. So if you like it, you know, what this presented it, then give us a thumbs up, 2 thumbs up, add your likes, your comments, whatever down the bottom underneath the video, and yeah, we'll get back to you as soon as possible, you know, on your comments, and then go tell all your Maori friends, hey, there's this claim on stuff.co.nz that Greeks and Egyptians and whoever were here before us, Maori, you know, that sort of stuff, before the Moriori maybe. How come they didn't need all the Moriori, you know, all that sort of stuff. There's been claims that, you know, like people in New Zealand have found, when they've done their research, professionals, supposed professionals, they've found Irish Celt tattoos on the rock and all that sort of stuff, and that's where we got what we call the moko, the tattoo, right? Tā moko, this the old chief's head, you know, carved into the bone and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, yeah, and all that sort of stuff. That the carvings on the maraes are from that ancient Irish Celts that were here way before us. That there's these little red-haired people, and little fairy people and all this sort of stuff here before us. And now we've got this, that the Greeks and the Egyptians were here before us. Yeah, I think maybe people sailed from Egypt over time, many centuries ago, thousands and thousands of years ago, and ended up in the Pacific somewhere probably, and then went from there, you know, according to if what's his name, W.L. Hunter's book is true, right? And what's his name, Gerald Massey's book of the beginnings, the Maori language is compared to the Egyptian. He's hinting that it's the closest to it, the Mirineta, or the hieroglyphics of the Egyptians, or ancient Kemet. So we're as African as the Africans, you know, and Egyptian as the Egyptians. I've done a video on that. I'll probably put it underneath this one, as you know, into this one, so you can have a look at it if you haven't seen it, and a couple other ones. Yeah, so give us a thumbs up, tell us how much you like it, and then you know, make sure that the bell's set so you get notified of any videos. If you subscribe, you don't miss out on them, and then go tell your all your Maori friends or your Maori friends, you know, that this kaka's up online. Okay, if it is kaka, and yeah, go tell your Pākehā mates, you know, your Asian mates, everybody else. Yeah, come on, man, look at this. I found on Real Juicy News, or what's the other one? Jeez, I've got my own channel, Ministry of the Real Truth. Okay, have a look at that. You know, see what you think. Have a little giggle, whatever. Yeah, I never heard of it, but this guy, he brought it to our attention. Yeah, and don't forget to tell your cat and your dog, okay, about this. And we'll catch you later. Hope you enjoyed it. Cheers, later.